Hi YouTube. Today I've got something really special for you. I'm really pleased to get my hands on this. So this is a custom friction folder with carbon fiber scales. So I'm going to go through it in detail, but just before I do, I'd just like to say a big thank you to Paddy of Paddy Potatoes Peelers and Judd. Paddy because this first came up on his show, and I've actually got a screenshot from his show a bit later on, and from Judd, who actually owns this knife and was kind or crazy enough to share it with a few of us so we could do a traveling knife review of it. I think if I had this, I don't think I'd let it out of my hands. But anyway, big thank you to Paddy and Judd. You might have seen some of the reviews already. It's been reviewed by Gadget Gus and Steel City Knives. If you haven't seen their reviews already, please check them out. Maybe when you've finished watching mine, that'd be great. I'll put links to their reviews below. Let's just take a quick look at it before I go into the details and tell you a bit about the maker. So you can see it here. It's a friction folder. I just open it up, and this is one of the most amazing bits about the blade. I don't know if you can see this. It's been step milled, so it looks absolutely fantastic. Just closing it up. As I said, it's a friction folder. It might remind you of another friction folder, which I'll talk a bit about later as well, but it's absolutely beautiful. This particular version has got carbon scales, and I love this sort of layered carbon fiber. It is available in other scale materials as well, but it's absolutely beautiful. So this knife is called the Academic, and it's a bit of a play of words. So the ACAD part of Academic stands for the Alberta College of Art and Design, and that's where the maker studied. So the maker is Joseph LaPietra. He's a Canadian graduate, and his degree is in jewellery and metals. During his studies, Joseph used the Svord peasant knife, which I guess was his early inspiration for the Academic. You might have seen Joe on Paddy's Potato Peelers live show with Judd. There's a really good episode of that, and here's a picture of him. I'll put a link to this in the description below as well, so you can see it. So he's a relatively new maker. I think this has been designed since 2018. It's on sale in the US, and hopefully it's going to be on sale in the UK as well, so look out for it. So let's take a look at it, starting with the blade. So the blade has been step milled. The steel is 20 CV, which is one of the high-end steels with high wear resistance, high edge retention, and high corrosion resistance. The only issue with it being 20 CV, I think, which would be an issue for me, is it's not always one of the easiest ones to sharpen, but hopefully you don't need to sharpen it that often. The shape is a clip reverse tanto. That was as described by the maker. It's got a really nice shape. Let's take a look at it. So it's got a really nice shape. One of the things that I really like about this as well is it's very well balanced. So on my finger there, you can see it's balanced really well. This is because the handle is so light, and the blade is a decent thickness actually. It's from 3mm blade stock. The length from tip to handle is a smidge under 3 inches, so about 75 millimeters. And as I said, the blade stock is 3mm, or about 1/8 of an inch. Looking at the size open, so from tip to end, it's 185 millimeters, or 7¼ inches. So it's a nice size. It actually fits in the hand amazingly. If you look at the shape here, it's a perfect place to put your first finger and then the other 3 fingers wrap around with your thumb on the top. And of course, the issue with friction folders is that there's not a lot to hold them shut, but with this design and with this amazing jimping on the top, there's no problem with that closing on you. You'd have to have a lot of force and your thumbs pushing back on it. Even if it did close, where your finger is here, you can see next to the nice large sharpening choil, there's a bit that sticks out. So that would stick in your finger, but not the blade. But with this nice extension, and it's about 30 millimeters past the pivot. So there's a decent amount to hold it open with that 30 millimeters past the pivot. But the thing I really like is that it's not too long when closed. It doesn't stick out too much. So the length closed, the handle is 110 millimeters. With the tang, it's 125 millimeters. So that's 4¼ inches long when closed for the handle and 5 inches with the tang. And when you look at the thickness of this, it's about 13 millimeters or 5/8 of an inch. So it's not too thick. It's really well proportioned. And the thing I like is that even when it's closed, there are no real hot spots. And you naturally hold it as you would do when it's open. I'll go through the opening and closing design a little bit later, but it's not really going to open easily in your pocket at all. So the opening, it's one-handed opening, which is pretty easy here. And your thumb and finger naturally go there in a sort of a pinch mode. There are no hot spots on this at all. I'm really pleased it hasn't got a clip, and it's really comfortable. There are some other materials for the handles, and I'll show you some and maybe try and find a picture to put up as well of some other ones. But as I say, it fits really well in your hand. And then it closes one-handed as well. I'm not so good at doing that, but there's absolutely no problem doing that. What I like as well is if you look at it when it's open, let's see if we can take a closer look. You can see the way that the jimping on the blade, let's take it down a bit. You can see that the jimping on the blade here matches up with the jimping on the handle perfectly. Fantastically engineered. As we close the knife, you can see the maker's, I'd say stamp, but it looks like it's milled. So JL for Joseph LaPietra. So you can get a closer view of that. It has 3 screws or bolts keeping it together, and these are all Torx 15s. I haven't taken it apart. It's not my knife. I'd rather not mess about with it. I guess you can alter the stiffness of the opening if you want as well through that, but I haven't done that. As I say, it's not my knife. It's amazing. I could look at this blade all day. This sort of shape from this stepped milling, it seems to have a real sort of Art Deco look about it. Something like the Spirit of the Wind sculpture, or I guess it's similar to some other parametric designs. You might have seen them in some modern art, but it's absolutely beautiful. I just hope I'm doing it justice with my camera here. Let's see if we can get it back in focus. There we go. And just picking up on the weight. So the weight is 56 grams, which is really light. That's just a smidge under 2 ounces, which for this size knife is amazing. And for this size blade stock as well. I said I'd talk a little bit about the mechanism. So if you can look, if you can see in here, let's see if we can get that. So inside, let's just turn it over. So there's a barrel here, and then there's almost a hook on the tang, and that just as it's getting to close position, it's just connecting. It's not a hard lock, but it just fits in there really snugly, which means it's not got much chance of opening if it was in your pocket. Although, to be honest, I think I'd probably put it in a slip. I wouldn't want to get the carbon scales all scratched up. Absolutely beautiful though, and really light. It's hard to explain it just by showing you. So let's do some comparisons. To be honest, I haven't got a lot great to compare with it. So the only friction folder I have is this Kershaw pub, and it's a friction folder and it has some carbon fiber on the handle. So, and it has a similar mechanism inside actually. Let me see. It's got jimping and it's got a similar locking mechanism there, which hopefully you can see. And I do love it. And bear in mind, it's probably about the 10th of the cost of this of the Academic. So, but I really love the Kershaw pub. Haven't always been a fan of friction folders, but I really like this, and this one is amazing. Then just for size comparison, just because I have them, here's the Pioneer X. So you can see how that matches up in size. And of course, here is the tiny classic SD. Let's put it up here. So you can just see it in size. So hopefully that gives you some idea. But it does fit really well in your hand. So I mentioned you can get other scales. These scales came with it. They're a lovely pale green micarta, and you can see how they might fit. I'm not actually going to put them on. I don't want to mess about with the knife. As I said, it's not my knife, but these are super light, super hard wearing. The nice thing about micarta, I guess, compared to carbon fiber is that it's got a slightly softer texture and it will change over time. So it will take on more of a patina if you're into that. But you can see it has the same well-defined jimping on here, the same as on the knife. So it matches up really well. I think you can get some burlap micarta as well, and maybe some other carbon fiber options. I'll see if I can find a picture. If I can, I'll put it up here. So just to share with you. That's it for my review. I hope you found it interesting. It is an amazing knife, and I feel really lucky to have had it as part of a traveling knife. It'll now be back on its way home to Judd. I know he'll be relieved to get it back. I've really enjoyed taking a closer look at this and reviewing it. It's a beautiful knife. I think the maker has done an amazing job with this. So if you haven't already, check out Paddy's Potato Peelers site, and I'll have a link there. If you haven't already, check out Joseph LaPietra, otherwise known as the Iron Joe, on Instagram. I'll put a link to that. If you like this, please hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. It always helps the channel. And why not check out this video down here and the playlist here. The playlist is for a couple of my MB's EDC confidential chats that I've had with people. I think you might find them interesting, and I'm sure you'll know at least one of the people that I've been chatting with, so check that out. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.